Hi, my name is Jael Richardson, and I am the author of Gutter Child. When I started Gutter Child, it was really about asking questions that were affecting my life. Issues of race and racism and colonization, and it felt pertinent, but it took me 8 years to sort of work through all the things that were on my mind. And it's interesting now that I think Gutter Child is particularly relevant given the events of 2020. I think it forces us to confront some things that a lot of people have been ignoring and many of us have been living through for a long time. And so I think Gutter Child is particularly relevant because it asks us to confront issues of race and racism and systems that need to be broken down. The protagonist in Gutter Child is Elamina Madeline Dubois. She's a 14-year-old girl who is a gutter child, but she spent her entire life raised on the mainland, not really understanding the system that she was born into and the system that she's a part of. And at the start of the novel, she arrives at Livingstone Academy, where she begins to figure out quite early on that there are problems and questions that she's going to need to grapple with. And she's going to need to figure out who she can rely on and who she can trust. I think every book is special, but firsts are always a particular kind of special because they allow you to figure out new things and discover things for the first time. For me, this first novel is particularly special because it allowed me to imagine worlds in a whole new way. I had written a memoir and a children's book, but to create a whole setting, a whole space, a whole world, to invent things felt like a particular kind of freedom and also felt particularly meaningful when it all came together to read this thing that I had imagined and created and put into the world. If I were to give advice to someone working on their first novel, Gutter Child for me took 8 years to write. And I think every person probably wants to do it in slightly less time. And so my advice to a new writer would be to really plan things out, to think through your beginning, your middle, and your end, and to always be working on the entire manuscript, to be thinking about the entire story, and to be wrestling with the different ways the story can end from the very beginning. I think that's when you arrive at a really complete story, a really satisfying ending, when you've thought about all of it for a really long time and you know in the end that this is the right way to finish. So the books that are currently by my side table, I'm always reading at least 3 books at a time, an audiobook, an ebook, and a physical book. But the ones that are on the hopper next are Sufferance by Thomas King, Saltus by Tara Giroux, and Liberty by Caitlin Greenidge.